Hello and welcome to LanguageCraft for the 5th episode of Let's Timelapse. Now to start us off, we're flying over the very first neighborhood of the village, which is almost complete, and in the end, it's actually not that poor. We used to say that it was poor, but to be honest, all the houses are more or less well off. And they're still in the center of the village, that's important. Trust me, when we do get to the poor houses, you'll be able to tell. But in the meantime, here are a couple new rich houses that have appeared. They all have something in common, which is the shop in the front of the house. Because as the title of the episode suggests, and as we said last time, today we're going to build the market. And so we're starting to surround it. This big space seems perfect, and it coincides with the layout we established during episode 2, saying that crossroads would be where the market would be. So the first step is to replace the whole ground with gravel. Because grass is great and all, but a market is a place where people mill around, and the ground has to be in an even worse shape as the roads all around. So in the end there's going to be even more soul sand and things like that. It's going to be really muddy in a way. And let's take advantage of this step where I'm actually just simply changing the blocks of the ground. So it's not that important and that interesting to look at in a sense. So a couple questions. First of all, will there be a download of the map? Yes, of course, there will be. I said it a few times during the series, you will be able to download the map, but only at the end of the season. And I think the season should be around 20 episodes, so another 15 to go, I guess. You will be able to use the map for whatever you want, for adventures, for your server, things like that, just as long as you say where it came from. You do need to actually, say where it comes from. That's important. And if you're interested in the terraformed map without the buildings, you can find that in the description of episode 1 of the season. Now, some people want to see the map with the basic texture pack, without the John Smith. Unfortunately, that's going to be a no. If someone built a map with the basic texture pack, you wouldn't say, hey, could you actually show it to us with John Smith? That doesn't make any sense. Well, it's the same thing here. Each one of us has his own preferences, and personally, I absolutely hate the basic texture pack. In any case, I just use the best tool for the job. And I'm building a medieval town. It's important that I have a medieval texture pack. As far as I'm concerned, John Smith is the best one around. I used to really like Doku. Right now, my preferences go towards John Smith. That's just a question of taste. For example, whenever I build modern projects and things like that, I go towards Sortex. It's just, there are many texture packs, even medieval. There's the Conquest and things like that. And you just need to make your own choice. However, when you do download the map, you will be able to visit the map with whichever pack you want, so I won't be behind your back to choose them. And finally, with patterns. Now, some said that the patterns were too similar from one house to the other, and that I should change and vary them a little bit more. Yes and no, I agree to a certain degree. The houses are very similar, and that's mainly because we're in the center of the village since the beginning of the season, and I want this center to have a really strong personality and all the houses to have the same kind of personality. The style will vary a lot more on the outskirts of the town and even more in the countryside around. In any case, I would say that this is sort of a first draft, and things are way too symmetrical for the moment. I want to change everything to make sure that the houses are not too perfect, I need to age them. And that I'm going to do in a future episode. I'm going to go around and grief the village, change blocks by stairs, and generally speaking, adding life to the whole place. So here, I've talked a lot, and I've changed the whole ground meanwhile, and I've finished the 2 houses, which really surround the marketplace. So here we go for the first stalls. Now, this was a very difficult process for me because, as I said, I'm obsessed with symmetry. And here I had to make sure that things weren't too regular at all. On the contrary, I had to put stairs, I had to put blocks, you know, everywhere. No smooth wall, nothing like that. And on the stall that I'm working on at the back, you can see that this wall is made out of blocks, yes, but also of slabs and stairs and things like that really give it a broken, run-down feel. Now these 3 wooden stalls are permanent. You can tell they, you know, they're not being built every morning. They're there to really show that this market is permanent and is there every single day. But around all these stalls, I'm going to start making some that are made of cloth. Well, some wood, yes, but a lot of cloth. And I'm using the same kind of design that you would see on any Minecraft map, which is this white and colored stripes of wool. And at first I thought, I don't want to do the same design as everyone does, so I started thinking about other things, and I wanted to consider something more original. However, I went on Google and looked it up and started doing research on medieval stalls and things like that. Turns out, that's what market stalls really were like. That's what I found in my research anyway. The only difference is that in reality, they didn't have any dyes like this, like blue, red, things like that. They were only in the East, and in Europe, they were only for really wealthy people. Definitely not for market. It was only grays and things like that. I wanted to have more color, so I thought, you know what, I'll just put every single color of wool. Anyway, so yeah, you know I want a village that is really historically accurate, and that's why I chose this. I want my village to be as accurate as possible. It's never going to be perfect, that's fine, but I don't want any fantasy, and some people were asking for underwater buildings, things like that. I'm not going to do any of that because it doesn't fit the theme, simply put. This is a purely historically accurate medieval village, but however, we will see in due time, perhaps in another season. I'll ask you all what you want to see in the next season when we finish this one. Anyway, meanwhile, we can see just how colored this market is. When I built it, I would look around to see what colors I hadn't used nearby, and would put that color for a stall, a color that I hadn't used. And I made it as chaotic as possible. As soon as I saw a space, I would put down another booth to plug up the area. It's also very important to furnish the whole area. Here I'm putting down flower pots, I'm putting down anvils, item frames, really to make it more alive. I mean, even though there's no one here, it's very, very difficult to do for cinematic, even more so for a time-lapse. But I might bring people in for the final cinematic at the end of the season, just like I did for our latest time-lapses. Have people walk around and really give life to the village. I think that's really important, and it changes the feel of the whole build. And here we go. Now the cobblestone you can see towards the right is outlines left by Micromega, who is a chief builder of the LanguageCraft build team. And he put down outlines just to kind of give me ideas of where I could add modules to here and there to really give history to the buildings. And, you know, maybe have some kind of roleplay where there were bits added to the houses here and there. But anyway, here's the finished market with added trees that I think are really nice because of the color. And to be honest, they really help filling the space. Here and there just wasn't enough room for the booths, but there was too much space. So, plunk down a tree, and we're perfect. We're good to go. So imagine this with people running around shopping, running around, you know, yelling at each other, and, I don't know, kids playing, for example. Everyone's milling about, they're selling, they're yelling, they're fighting over an item. It makes a great feel to the place, and I'm actually pretty proud of myself for making something just so chaotic, and it really gives a good feel to it. This can really be seen as the center of the village in a way. It's the big marketplace, the inn just next to it, and right to the left of the camera right now is where the square and the square in front of the church is going to be, which should come around in a few episodes, and those three things are pretty close to being the heart of any town. And here we are in front of the map of the village as usual. Right now we really have the impression that the center of the village has migrated over to the east with that market, which is really lit up. However, rest assured, the rest of the village is going to come around in the next few episodes. Anyway, thank you all for watching. It's been a really interesting episode, I think, and we'll see each other in 2 weeks for episode 6. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.